Good afternoon, it's Lisa here from Non-Toxicated, and today we're delighted to welcome Roddy Nicol from Spirits of Virtue. Let me just bring Roddy in. Good morning, Roddy, how are you?
Hello, hi everybody.
Good to see you. And I see you've got a woolly jumper on there. Which part of the country are you talking to us from?
Well, this time of year, woolly jumpers are absolutely part of the uniforms if you're in Scotland.
We never would have guessed. So your company is Spirits of Virtue, and it may not be a name that people have heard of, although I'm pretty sure most of our audience will have tried your products. So tell us about Spirits of Virtue.
Yeah, well, look, Spirits of Virtue, it's a company founded by myself and my younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely from a kitchen sink to where we are in our facility now, which is in sunny Clydebank, just outside of Glasgow.
Okay.
We started back in 2018, so we're old hands. I mean, I think apart from Ben and the guys at Seedlip, we were second to market. So, second
Wow.
old non-alc spirit company. We have our own facility here. There's 10,000 square feet, and we manufacture on site, bottle and ship out to all around the world to 16 countries now from our base.
Wow.
2 sites to the company. So we've got a managed brand, a portfolio, which is huge. And we also have our private own label, and we manufacture for the likes of Asda, Lidl, Aldi, Spinneys in the Middle East, etc. So yeah, a lot of people will probably have tasted our products and not be aware of it all.
Not be aware of you. I know it's always a frustration, places like Aldi and Lidl, because they're not available all year round, and they should be.
Oh, well, we try our best. We try our best to force the buyer's hand. We need more non-toxicated members to bang on the manager's door.
We do. Well, we're here specifically today to talk because you are launching in America, in the US, and we've got a big contingent of US members in the non-tox group, and they're always saying to us, we can't get a hold of these products and we need a better range. And so tell us a bit about how, like, a company in Scotland is producing products for America. How's that come about?
Well, we're very, very export focused. So we identified the marketplaces that we wanted to be in. And look, the UK is, I would consider, the lead non-alc market, no-low market in the world. We've been at it for a while. There are a lot of different products. There's all the infrastructure, there's all the retail space and lots of companies. But it moves at different places around the world. In the States, definitely you can see the whole zeitgeist there is moving towards wellness and driving the whole non-alc category. And so it was time for us to enter the marketplace and take part of that expertise there. It was really just a case of finding the right platform. And the thing with the States, of course, is it's not a country, it's a continent. It's 50 little, very countries all squeezed together. So we wanted to take the entire range. And the reason we've delayed is because specifically we wanted to work on our non-alcoholic bourbons and tequila, so that we launched in America with products that were recognized and were ready to rock and roll. And then also, as part of the investment in our company, we wanted to have global branding. So in other words, we wanted to have a front label architecture and recipes that we could sell in Japan, the Middle East, Europe, and in the States. And that just takes a lot of time, a lot of work, and you have no idea how many forums.
Yeah, there was me thinking, you might just launch with 1 or 2 products, but no, it's pretty much the full range. I'm actually going to bring up some pictures of some of your products because for those members that have not seen your products before, it's huge. You want to just very briefly talk us through each part of the category?
Yeah, so look, what we wanted at the very outset, we wanted to have what's called a portfolio of non-alc brands. And we wanted to have something in every category. So in other words, whichever market we entered, there would be a particular brand that would take the lead, but we would pick up those residual sales. And also it means that when we go to retailers, we go to e-commerce, we go to specialized bricks and mortar, we've got the entire range and we can offer everything to them. So we become a bit of a kind of one-stop solution for milk. So all of our products have the same common DNA. They are all made with spring water from the Cairngorm Mountains in Scotland. They are no artificial colours, no artificial flavours, no artificial sweeteners, no sugar.
Okay.
They're all gluten free, and they are 0.05 or less.
Yeah.
Fall into the no-al.
Yeah.
So
do you say halal there? It cut out for a minute. Do you say all halal?
Yeah. Well, so we have a big footprint in the Gulf. So we're in Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi, UAE, etc. So the products are all halal as well, where that's important. So the product that we're looking at just now is Seven Giants, which is our take on a non-alc tequila, or the tequila alternative. And again, the packaging we've designed here is all custom. We bring organic blue agave in from Mexico. We marry it up here, which produce the backstory. The provenance is very, very important for us. I want to make quality products. That's what we want to do. And in this particular range, we've got a Blanco, Anejo, and a Esposado, so that we've got a technique for extracting tannins and lignans from wood, because aged tequilas will take on the color and the characteristics from the wood. And what we wanted to do was create something so that we could give all those sensations. In the UK, people probably know tequila as from a Blanco, because it's it's more an ingredient in a cocktail, whereas in the American market, they're looking for different taste profiles. So they'll recognize a Esposado, which means rested or aged, and a Anejo, which is a slightly younger product. So they're looking for those different taste profiles. So the whole range is aimed primarily at the US marketplace, where they're a bit discerning about what they want to do with an tequila alternative.
And the bottle's absolutely beautiful. I saw it at an exhibition early this year, and it's lovely. It's got sort of scales on the bottle, hasn't it?
Well, it's based on that. So if you've ever seen tequila, they have the agave, the cactus, and then they cut all the branches off, and it ends up looking like a giant shaved pineapple before they roast it. So anybody who's seen tequila being produced is going to instantly recognize it. It looks a little bit like a dragon's egg.
Yeah.
The whole Seven Giants. So the Seven Giants name comes from the Gabarino Indians, who were originally in part of Mexico, which is now part of California. And Seven Giants are the people who hold up the heavens and the firmament. And their whole mythology was written about by a guy called Hugo Reed, who was born not a stone's throw from our factory back in the mid-1800s. And so there's a little bit of provenance, a link, tenuous as it may be, between Scotland and Mexico and what we need to do.
Brilliant. And Osco, so this is an unusual one. People often ask us, can we get a non-alc vodka? And we can.
And has been what we would call very much a big surprise for us, especially in the States. So the whole range is based on mixology. So as you can see, there's a vanilla, a citron, a chocolate, a berries, Nordic berries. So we're using cranberries and bilberries, etc., and a classic vodka. And we got asked for it all the time, but there's instantly that, how can you make a non-alcoholic vodka? How can you get those taste profiles? So two things I would say here is that this product's gone into Finland and has been bought by the Finnish government. So if you're making a non-alcoholic vodka, I don't think you could get a better stamp of approval than the Finnish government buying. And actually, usko is a Finnish word which means faith or belief in yourself. So again, we like this kind of backstory. When we came up with the brand, we thought, well, there's a name that people would recognize around the world. It's not going to mean anything because it's Finnish, and Finnish is very much a standalone language. And then all of a sudden, one of the customers base was the Finns, and they said, well, we understand what the name means and where it kind of fits in. And we've introduced this into the States, and the actual classic usko, the classic vodka, is our biggest seller. So
amazing.
It's absolutely crazy, yeah.
Wow. So more.
Yeah, so bore. So again, look, the idea about this and entering into the American market was we wanted a bourbon. We wanted something that the heavy emphasis on the rise and the corns and the grains, etc., and also this patented aging technique that we have, where we can put the tannins and lignans that you would get from an aging process. And we wanted a very, very metropolitan style of bourbon, where we're not in the States, we're not in Tennessee, we're not in Kentucky. We didn't want to try and step into that space. So there's no Stetsons and cowboy boots and yeehaw.
No.
Very, very much about this mixology type process going through. We do what we call bourbonesque, which is, I think, it's a nice smash up between burlesque and bourbon. And we've got a rye style as well. So we've got two. So for somebody that wants those slightly sweeter notes, and again, the packaging, we our creative director Alex, we just won 2 more gold awards for packaging. It's really important part of the process when it's on the shelf. When somebody makes that investment in the product, you need to feel special. You need to feel that you've invested in something. And I definitely think the movement in non-alcs now towards bespoke packaging, where rather than taking an off-the-shelf bottle, we want to design something specific for the end user that fits, their personally, who they see themselves as.
It's something I really agree with. I think sometimes with the non-alc market, it's just doing a dupe of what's out there already, and to have something that's instantly recognizable as a non-alc brand is brilliant. I think some of your packaging that you've the bottles that you've brought out are brilliant, and that they will become instantly recognizable on the shelf or behind the bar, wherever they turn up.
Lisa, look, it's one of my things. As I said, look, we very much in this for the long haul. We've been at it now for 5, coming up for 6 years. And where I think this will move to is that the non-alc alcohol analogues, if you want to call them in that vein, they will become standalone brands. I love the fact that the big boys, your Diageos, Pernod Ricards, Suntory Beams, Former Brown, they're all into this area and they're helping grow the category, and very much so. But I think one of those things is that, if you pick up one of the non-alcoholic versions of a main brand, there's always that differential. They're not going to taste the same. No way.
Yeah.
There's a standalone brand, people pick it up and they judge it on its own merits. And that's what all we want. All we can ask is pick it up. The packaging does that. Hopefully the provenance and it pulls them in. And then you get somebody's genuine reaction to what your product is, rather than saying, oh, that doesn't taste like the original, which is what I think the first
Gordon's, the original Gordon's, the original Guinness or whatever else.
I was very careful there, Lisa, not to mention them by name, of course. I can't do it.
You can't. I can't say that. I can't say that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things about the non-alc space, so I know we've talked about this in the past, is that people expect to be able to get a sipping spirit, and it's not always the case, is it? I think that these mix very well, these drinks, don't they, with the right mixer, but it's hard to have these as sipping spirits. Would you agree, or are we moving towards that
look,
now?
I think that the thing about sipping spirits is, I'll call it physicality. When we started off in the early days, I could make a non-alcoholic rum that actually evaporated off your tongue, that had the burn bite, the physicality of alcohol. And we put it into the marketplace and it bombed. And it bombed
Really?
because we'd started from a position where we believed that people were looking for just a complete doppelganger of what they were trying to replace. And when you actually dial that back and then suddenly look at it again, almost without exception, if people are very honest, their first taste of a spirit in its raw form, it's not a pleasant experience. It's something that you trick yourself. I want the euphoric effect of the alcohol, and therefore the pain part of it is this burn. And I'm going to disguise that with some fruit juice, or I'm going to disguise it inside a cocktail, or I'm just going to grimace and put salt and lime and I'm going to get it in. Now, when you actually move on from that and saying, I like the malty tones of this and I like this, the actual physicality of the alcohol, retained memory. And so therefore, new people to the category, and I'm sure you know this, Lisa, new people into the category that have never bought before will go, oh, it's not got the bite or the burn. And then the question is, well, do you like that? And they go, no, it's just that I, and you make that gap over. So yes, that's why I think these are standalone brands with their own architecture, with their own values.
Yeah. Well, it's a big range. What's the next? Is Pearson's. Beautiful colours.
Pearson's. So look, non-alc gin. Why is everybody into the non-alc gin? The non-alc gin space works for one reason, I think, is that it's predominantly a female demographic, and also the fact that almost exclusively the gins are mixed with tonic. So you get that instant carbonation, you get the astringency on the other side, and therefore as a manufacturer of non-alc spirits, almost without exception, I can tell you how the gin's going to be drunk. Now, that doesn't work so much as we've pointed out with bourbons, rums, etc. But with the gins, and then you get the experiential thing, so that, you know, gins are going to be in a big copper with lots of ice and fruit, and there's a theatre to how they're produced, and therefore people buy into that whole experience. So the gin range that we produce, there are what you would expect. There's a London Botanic, there's a rhubarb and ginger, but there's a couple unusual. There's a hibiscus and rose, which is our biggest seller, which at the first thing sounds very floral. But one of the reasons that we get repeat sales on that is it just has such complexity and depth. So you're getting lighter floral notes that you might get, say, with like a Hendrix, but you're getting lots of what I call mid-tones and depth. And that's actually quite hard to get in non-alcs, is to get a mid-tone and complexity, rather than, you know, you put it in your mouth, it washes away, and there's nothing there that really follows on. There's a white grapefruit and lemongrass.
Oh, I've not tried that. Sounds good.
That one actually got 2 stars in the Great Taste, which we're very proud of, and wins a lot of awards, very citrus forward. So again, a full range of very kind of botanical based gins there for all lovers of gin.
Yeah, I had the hibiscus and rose when we were looking at doing the pouches a year or two ago, and it was definitely very popular amongst our members, for sure. Now this is another beautiful bottle.
And one of, actually, believe it or not, the earliest products that we ever did. And this is our take on a single malt. So you've got Highland Bothy and Smoky Isles. So Smoky Isles, very phenolic-y, peaty, lots of depth, lots of those kind of maritime notes that you would expect from, say, something from Islay, if you're a whiskey fan. And Highland Bothy is more sherry cask, sweeter, rounder, malty, fruity tones, but both in the single malt space. Now, we actually formulated these 5 years ago and designed all the packaging, of which I'm very, very proud. And again, because it really stands out. And this is very much a case of, we've had this in the portfolio, but it's only now that it's starting to pull through, because the sales now of this have actually just taken off on one of the UK e-commerce platforms, on Freshers. We're now starting to get demand pulling through, but this is very much a case of the markets come to us. So people have said, I want a non-alc whiskey, right? Okay, now I want a smoky one. Oh no, I want something for a cocktail. These are probably our first foray into the let's pour it over ice for the connoisseur of non-alcs that are now saying, do you know what? I want a sipping experience. I don't need the physicality and the burn. This is my drink. And this is our I've just come back from China, where there are no non-alc spirits at all. And we made a big presentation to an e-commerce platform there, and they absolutely loved this. Absolutely loved it, because the marketplace there is driven by the premium, hyper premium end of things. Just on 1.3 billion people, percentage wise, are there people there who previously drank, say, a whiskey, who don't drink now because of health, wellness, societal pressure, health reasons, or whatever, which means that, you know, percentage wise, there's actually a big market for it. So this will actually launch in China in about March.
My goodness, and go anywhere in the world and spot your products.
Yeah.
So this one's been around for a little bit longer, hasn't it, Sarah? Sarah, I've seen this.
Yeah, so seriously,
Out and
has
about.
been out. Yeah, it's been out for a little while. It was in Lidl in the UK.
Yeah, that's where I've seen it. Yeah,
More in the kind of seedlip end of things. It's not so much
yeah.
juniper forward, it's botanical forward. There are some nice combinations in there that I like to throw something that you recognise and something you don't. I always reckon it's about pushing that envelope, makes it feel special. So you'll get something like, say, lingonberry and hibiscus. So if you're a shopper in IKEA, you know what lingonberry is because you get it with your hot dog on the way out.
With your
It's that.
meatballs.
Exactly, 100%. And there's a rhubarb and ginger, but we introduced the sea buckthorn into that, so it's got all the kind of fruity and warm notes you'd expect from rhubarb and ginger, but just a touch of astringency from the sea buckthorn. Yeah, so it's a brand that we made for a retailer that just took arms and legs and off it went. So yeah, and this has been introduced into the States now.
Fantastic. And I think last but not least, I've seen these products before, but I think you've had a bit of a relaunch with the packaging by the look of things.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things that we are not afraid. Being a smaller company, we're quite nimble on our feet. We'll introduce a product in. Our first rums had what I would call a kind of maritime steampunk theme, and it just wasn't gelling with the customer base. And what we did was we repackaged and relaunched, and it's made to mix. So we've got a spiced rum, a dark rum. We've got a coconut rum and a white rum, and obviously with any of the rums or the rum-based products, they are all about your cocktail end of the marketplace. And this is it. They were very much in that sort of party mode and made to mix. And it's a much more vibrant presentation that we've actually got for it, and now it's starting to gain traction. So sometimes, Lisa, you've got to come back and just admit we got it wrong first time, and reformulate, repackage, and then take it back into the marketplace.
Fantastic. And I'm sure people who are watching this in the US are chomping at the bit and saying, well, where can I get hold of this stuff? Where can I go and buy it?
You can, at this moment in time, we have, I think, 19 SKUs on Amazon. So you can get them anywhere in the States and have them. I still think Amazon's next day delivery. I don't know. But you can get them anywhere now and get them delivered. And I think we are introducing an extension with another 3 SKUs leaving on the next container. And the full range will be available by March. And that is 29 SKUs. So again, back to that portfolio thing, is that we have a huge range, an absolutely massive range. But rather than them all being sort of same bottle, same architecture, different flavor, they have different. They're designed for different people, you know, rather than one fits all. It's very much a case of saying, if you're into the mixology thing, here's our core range. If you want to specialize in a whiskey, I've got 9. If you want a bourbon, no, actually I prefer a rye. We've got a rye. If you want a rum and you look to there, we have and even in the vodkas, there's 5. There's 5 gins. So I'm hoping that nobody's going to come out the woodwork and say, but you forgot this, Rod. If you do, I'm going to make it.
He's going to make it. He's going to make it. A Bailey's, that's what we need. We need a Bailey's.
Now see, cream liqueurs and non-alc drinks that can any fat content. As you know, the problem with them is, Lisa, is that as soon as they're open, the shelf life is very, very short. One of the things that we really tried very, very hard, our dark spirits are now leaving the factory with 28 months on them, and the white spirits are leaving with 18 months. We have worked so hard to extend shelf life. So that in ambient conditions, once they're open, they'll last for 9 months. The cream liqueurs present problems there, but our techie guys are working constantly.
Working on it.
Yeah, watch this space.
Okay, we will do. So I was going to ask you about the American market and what you think is going to sell well. You've already mentioned about Usco being a big hit. Where do you think the American market, what are they going to love, do you think?
I mean, I think we can see from the figures already, there are some that what we would expect. There's always, for me, there's a direct correlation between the sales figures from alcoholic products and non-alcoholic products, because there will always be a translation. So people that maybe their tipple before was a bourbon or it was a rum will look for an alcoholic alternative. So when you look at the sales figures in the States, you know, it's very much a kind of bourbon and tequila, and we've all seen what's happening in the tequila market. So those are very much tequila, bourbon, and vodka are very much what's driving things. But the marketplace in the States is so big, Lisa, that even what I would call niche products and niche views can still generate really, really big volumes just based on the population, which makes it cost effective for us to ship and get it into the marketplace, you know. In a smaller marketplace in the UK, our range probably drives my financial director to the point of despair. Poor man, I've promised him I won't develop any more brands, and I'm like, oh, I think I need a brandy. I really need a brandy in the range. But yeah, so I think that in the States it actually makes sense to have everything there. And look, something else might come out. There might be somebody there that says, I always think there's a place for a flavored bourbon type product or something else. And if the volumes are there, Lisa, and we get the requests, then yeah, we'll start working on it.
I mean, I remember when we've been set up for 3 years now, the Facebook group, and as American members joined, being quite jealous because God, they've got all these tequila products out there. We don't have that. They were sort of very much forward on that side of things, and I just wonder what trends are coming down the line in the US. It's going to be.
I think that's one of the lovely things that because we're now, as I said, look, we've got product now in Korea. We're about to shift into Japan. We're already in Australia. We're all through the Gulf. And then what happens is the distributors or the client base there, they come back and they say, look, so we've come back from China. Do I think we'll have a non-alcoholic Baijiu at some point? Yeah, but it's very, very niche. It's very much for the Chinese community. But there are large Chinese communities all over Europe and in the States. So would we bring a product that we produce predominantly for the Chinese market? Yes. I mean, would we do a non-alcoholic sake in the Japanese market, and that then comes out? Yeah. So one of the things about trying to establish global connections is that sort of stuff feeds through, and maybe there's a marketplace for it, Lisa, once we actually think. You know, so as I said, we went into the States thinking it will definitely be tequila and bourbon, and it has been, but the vodka has absolutely shocked us.
Yeah. Well, what would you say in terms of your range? Because there are a few well-established brands, non-alc brands out in America. What does your range have to offer that's a bit different? Would you say from what's out there already?
Yeah, look, I never, the whole non-alc thing, the whole no-low thing is so new. There are no established methods of production. There are no norms. I love it. It's like the Wild West. Invent the wheel and go into the marketplace, and there are people, everybody out there is keen to try new things, and therefore you've got quite a transient audience that are moving about and everybody's jostling for position. You've got really activated independents coming up with single brands. You've got multinationals who are leveraging brand equity from existing brands. It's fascinating, and as long as you're kind of light and nimble on your feet, there's lots and lots of opportunity there for you to gain purchase in the marketplace, Lisa. You know.
Yeah, and it's one of those things we love in the Non-Toxicated Facebook group is like seeing the different brands from all over the world and what people enjoy, new things coming up, and I think certainly the feedback we've had from the community is that they want to see more over in the US. They want the variety, and I think this is going to be a great opportunity.
I think that the American marketplace, if I have a little look at it, as I said, it's and this is not a disrespect to the Americans in the marketplace, it's just because it's such a behemoth. You know, the distribution systems in America are quite complicated. They have what's called a 3-tier system, where you have an importer, distributor, retailer. We don't have that in Europe. It's a difference. There's a whole other level to go through. Most distributions, even for non-alcs, need to go through the same system, which means it just takes time. We're a UK-based manufacturer, which means you've got all the FDA approval to get this stuff into the market. So there are all these kind of hoops to jump. And I would say to all our American cousins that the product's now making it into the American marketplace, and they're just going to see a big uplift in other products with different values. Our values are about provenance of the product. Packaging should be great. The packaging's lovely. If you don't get sale number 2 and sale number 3, it doesn't matter. And let's
the liquid's got to work, hasn't it? The liquid's got to work.
Let's be honest. In the early days, there were a lot of products came into the marketplace thinking it was easy to make a non-alc. What it fundamentally boils down to is what's in the bottle has to be good. It has to get the second sale, or it doesn't work. And that's where I think that, you know, maybe somebody's been in the market for a little bit longer. You go down a few blind alleys, and I said that the original liquids had the physicality of alcohol. Now we do everything we can to remove any alcohol signature, burn, bite. We don't want it. We know that the end user's not looking for that anymore, and therefore there's that whole education piece to go through again in the States with the end users there. The people that are coming into it and saying, look, actually look at the product and taste it for taste, aroma. That's what we're looking for here, you know.
And how does yours compare price wise to others in the US market?
I'm going to upset my competitors here, Lisa. From day one, I've always argued we take a different philosophy in SOV. So you can build a brand with lots of digital spend. So you make lots and lots of digital noise and people buying your product. And one of the complaints, and I'm absolutely positive that you know this and your members will say, why is the price point so high when there's no taxation on it?
I've never heard that, Roddy. What are you saying?
Really, and there's no taxation on it, and there's no duty on it. And our argument, the argument that comes from the other side, from the producers, is it's very expensive to make. And it is. Don't get me wrong. We're at what I would call bespoke stage. All of our stuff is made by hand. It's bottled by hand. We don't have the economies of scale. Now, SOV has an advantage because we make tens of thousands of bottles for big retailers under different labels. Still by hand. It's not a mechanized process. Somebody will get there eventually. So there is a kind of cogs in effect. But our belief has always been, let the product stand out on the shelf, let the customer discover it, and it's organic growth, Lisa, which is probably why we're coming to the party with this enormous range, and people are going, where have you been? Because it's growth. And what that means is if somebody discovers their product and they like it and they become an advocate, a disciple, they go out and spread the word. It's a secure base. It's not built on a digital spend. So that means that I probably come to the American market $5 to $7 cheaper than my competitor because I don't spend on digital space. I believe that people find their product by word of mouth, and the recommendation process is more powerful. And again, my pure financial director sits and pulls his hair out because you want fast.
Because you can charge more.
Well, basically, you charge more, but no, look, I still think there's a price differential here that there's a point that it makes sense for the end user, Lisa, that looks at it and says, want a value proposition. I do think that non-alcs should be priced under the alcoholic proposition. There's a differential there, and I really do think that is the sweet spot, so that you buy it, you feel there's value in the product, but you also invest in the fact that the product's being produced to such a high standard, and that's what I call that sweet spot. It's all about presentation, price point, and it all works in that little bit. So we're entering the marketplace probably $5 to $7 under our competitors, but I'm not on digital space, and hopefully they discover it through lovely groups like yourself, and then they tell their friends, and our growth curve might be a little bit slower, but when it gets there, it's going to be really solid.
Well, talking of growth, before we go, what about plans for the future? What's next?
What's next is we've got our first shipments into India. We will start shipping to China in March, probably, and in Canada. So over the border now, we're sorting out distribution in Canada. I think that's probably enough for next year.
Yeah. And did I hear a little whisper about some crowdfunding, some funding that you might be doing?
Well, in terms of what we're doing just now, we have a small crowd fund that's running just now. If anybody wants to have a look at that, when it goes live, I'm sure we'll put something on the platform so people can have a look at where we are. They can have a look at the full range and have a look at all the stuff that's going out there. And if they want to help us on our growth curve and etc. and jump in there, then that would be absolutely fantastic as we move on and into next year. I think in terms of where we'll be as a company in developing probably RTDs, ready to drink cans, or what will come next out of the investment. Ready to drink cans, I believe, are a liquid on lips gateway to the hero bottle. They'll spread the word for Nolos, allow more people.
It's a smaller investment for people as well, isn't it?
Smaller investment, but for us as a manufacturer, a much bigger investment, because it's about economy of scale. I can decide to do a product and make 6,000 bottles of a non-alc spirit. If I want to do cans and I want to get them into the marketplace at a price that makes sense, I've got to make 200,000 for the bigger numbers. And what I want to do is I want to get that RTD in somebody's hand, that it's not at a price that they have to go, and make that second choice thing. And that's what it's about, Lisa. It's about us now kind of activating and growing the marketplace.
And I hear, hopefully, by the time this video goes out, that there might be a little discount for Amazon users in the US. So we'll pop that into details if that's available. That's
brilliant. My team of elves are working away.
A Christmas present.
I don't pretend to understand how it's done technically, but they do promise me that they will have a gift ready for everybody that wants to try. Yeah.
Wonderful. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up? I'm sure we've got Christmas presents to wrap.
Yeah, listen, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk. As you probably sense, I could talk for hours and hours. I'm very, very passionate about what we do. I'm very proud of my team. As I said, it was my younger brother and I. As a proud Scot, we now make things on the banks of the Clyde and send them out all around the world. And it fascinates me. I can walk into shop in Riyadh or shop in Tokyo or somewhere else, and there's something that we made, and it's there. There's an innate, just silly pride about that. And long may it continue. It's great fun, Lisa. It really is. It's just great fun through the whole process, just trying to continually improve all the time. And long may it continue.
Brilliant. Well, it's always a pleasure, Roddy. Thanks for your time today. And have a great Christmas. All right.
And you too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.